I'm Pastor Rick, and this is A Moment with Pastor Rick, brought to you by Straight Talk on Scripture. And I've been thinking a lot lately about what's going on in our country. And I've been asking myself this question. Where did we get to the point where our youth, our teenagers, are savage to the point where they're willing to beat a fellow student to death over a minor infraction? How did we get to that point? And it's not just in Las Vegas, it's all over the country where our youth, and not all of them, but a good portion, have turned savage. And I ask myself why. I'm sure you do the same thing. Why is our culture so upside down? Why are we calling good evil and evil good? Why are young children not even sure what sex they are? There's great confusion and delusion that's come in to the point where a young person isn't even sure if they were born a boy, if they're really a boy, or vice versa. How did we get to this place? How did we get to the place where those we trust in government and those we trust to take care of us have become corrupt to the point where they're willing to neglect their calling, neglect the oath that they took for the love of money? How did we get to this place? How did we get to this place where we have kicked God out of our schools and our institutions and invited in every sort of unholiness? That there are many things that are vile, that are welcome, but God is not. Well, I believe that the answer can be found in Romans 1, starting in verse 18. And as I read it, I think it's going to shine a light on what's going on. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. So what that's saying basically is anybody can look at the world, look up at the stars at night, look at the ecosystems in our planet, and know that there's a creator. And it's saying that these people that deny God actually know he's real, but they choose to ignore him anyhow. Even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were they thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became as fools. Okay, right there, that's a great reason to explain what's going on right now, why all the confusion, deception, and delusion in our country right now. I'm going to start again, verse 24. Therefore, God also gave them up to uncleanness. So right here, what the scripture is saying, because they really knew that God was real, but would do anything not to worship him and acknowledge him, says God gave them up. And what happened is they dishonored their bodies among themselves. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshiped and served the creature rather than the creator. For this reason, now this is the second one, verse 26, God gave them up to vile passions. So what we see here in 26 is, as a chain reaction now, God gives them up a second time. And he says, okay, you want to indulge in all sorts of uncleanness? Go ahead. You're going to reap the reward of that, but I'm not going to stop you. You have free will. So God gives them up twice. In verse 28, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over. Now this is even more serious. God now turns them over to a debased mind to do those things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of all evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, who knowing the righteousness judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do they do the same, but also approve of others who practice such things. So if you're wondering where our savage teenagers have come from, if you're wondering where the confusion in our culture has come from, if you're wondering where the terrible corruption for those we've entrusted with power has come from, you need no further than Romans 1. What happened is people refused to acknowledge God, and they would serve anything but God. And because of that, God gave them up once, he gave them up twice, then he gave them over to practice things that should not be practiced. Well, I'm Pastor Rick. Remember, with Jesus, there's always hope, there's always love. God bless you. I'll see you soon.